Hello and welcome to the business programme. I'm Liz Hay and today I'm joined in the studio by my special guest Luke Appleby, Director of Equilibrium Risk, an award-winning security and risk management company based here in Kirklees. Luke has always had a strong connection to the security and risk management field. He spent 14 years as a Coldstream Guard and exiting the military continued some overseas security and surveillance work before setting up the business. I've invited Luke into the studio to talk to us about business security and how we can both understand and mitigate risks. Hi Luke.
Hiya.
And welcome to the programme.
Thank you, thanks for having me on.
How important, Luke, is it for businesses to review their overall security risks, and what sort of areas of security should they be focusing on?
I think it's fundamental to a business being successful that they review their security risk on a regular basis. We'd say at least annually, but realistically, any time your business changes shape or you do something different in your business, you should be reviewing your security risk. Security should support a business in the way it wants to go, to support it to achieve an opportunity. And by reviewing your security risk on a regular basis, you make sure it's up to date and it's effective and it supports the business in the direction it wants to go. The sort of security risk you should be looking at completely depends on the type of business you're in. So if you're an e-commerce site and you take most of your money using the internet, then you should be looking at the cyber risks that should affect your business. If you have a shop or you've got in the physical realm, then particularly you should be looking at the physical things on your business. But it all depends on what the business does to achieve its money, and that's where you should be looking to protect.
Okay, and what are some of the typical threats, Luke, we need to guard against, and sort of how serious can they actually be?
I think everyone is fully aware of the insider threat. That's the biggest threat to any business, and that's anyone within the business can have a massive impact. For example, a client, or at the time he wasn't a client, but an insider, a key holder of a night time of a weekend had a key, gained access to the building, and then took some cash from the business, and all the way to. We recently did a cyber security audit for a business where a member of staff had clicked a malicious link and downloaded some ransomware, and rather than admit it, their IT provider had paid the ransom just to make it go away and get the data back. So it's the insider, whether it's a subcontractor coming inside or someone in your business, that's the biggest threat to a business. The impact can vary massively. So you can look at GDPR as a fine, 20 million euros for 2% of turnover, to loss of cash and earnings. But it's that interruption to the business and the reputation and the loss of reputation that can have a real impact on the business.
So it's not just the immediate impact, it's that secondary impact as well with the disruption and so on and so forth.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, and for companies that have not already looked at this in any detail, so for example a new startup business, how do they actually get started and how do they ensure that they don't miss anything?
Well, I think the best time to start is when you're a new startup, and it doesn't have to be difficult. It's all you have to do is look at what you do as a business to make money and what assets you use to make that money. So is it the internet, for example? Is it a website? Is it a shop? You look at what your assets are, and then you look at what the threats are, what can have an adverse effect or affect you making money. And then you look at making changes to reduce that risk. And it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be better. And then as you progress, just make it slightly better and slightly better. And that's generally how good security, effective security can support a business in achieving its objectives.
Now, you run some risk management workshops yourself. How often do these actually run, and how can businesses get more information?
So we're running 4 workshops this year, all about understanding security risk. The first step in effective security, in protecting your business effectively, is understanding that security risk. So we're running 4 this year. The first one was about 3 weeks ago. The next one is 21st of May. For more information, go onto our website, equilibriumrisk.com, and it's all under the equilibrium analysis, where we go through and help people understand what their security risk is. So we look at what the assets are in their business, so how they make their money, what the threats are to those assets, and lastly we look at what security measures they've got in place and what holes there are that they could potentially fill to protect those assets.
And if any of the delegates are concerned about potentially sharing company sensitive information at the workshops, what sort of reassurances can you give them about that side of things?
So we've designed it. We've designed it so there's no sort of secrets given. So when we look at the assets, we give them assets a number. So A3, for example, and when we look at the risks, we give those risks a number. So when we're in the group and we're talking about the different things that can affect a business, for me as a business owner, I can talk about risks 5. Which means something to me, but doesn't mean to anybody else in the business. So it's kind of a nice open platform where everyone can share their experiences and the risks of their business, but in a confidential way. And no business is perfect, absolutely not. But it's a good idea to be able to share that and understand actually everyone's in the same field. Like I said earlier, it's not about perfect security; it's just about better security.
Yeah, and I suppose that all starts with raising awareness as the first step and then potentially looking at solutions.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it doesn't have to be about spending money either. There's a lot of different ways we can mitigate those risks. Only one of them is spending money.
Mm-hmm. And looking at the big picture, Luke, how has the security industry actually changed and our response to any vulnerabilities over the last 10 to 15 years?
The security industry has changed. I mean, I've been in business 4 years and it's changed massively. The number of connected devices that are on the internet now is massive, and there was not really anything in place to protect those devices. So if you've got an intruder alarm, for example, sitting on a company network, that's potentially the weak link. And that's all. And so your security in a business is only as strong as your weak link. So these things connected and the insider threat are really having a massive impact on businesses and their security.
And have you noticed any changes in terms of physical security or cyber security? Has any one of them become more dominant?
Cybersecurity is massive, purely because of the internet. Everyone, I think I saw a poll today. In fact, over half of everyone in the world is now on the internet, up massively from last year. So whereas Europe being by far the largest number of percentage of people on the internet. So cybersecurity is massive, but it's pulling along physical security because there's so many physical security solutions that are now connected to the internet.
And bearing this all in mind, what do you see the industry focusing on in the next 10 to 15 years?
I think in the next 10 to 15 years, AI will be massive. So artificial intelligence in the cyber world. So you'll have artificial intelligence protecting your business, but then you'll also have artificial intelligence attacking your business. So it'll be AI versus AI, and nobody knows where that's going to go or how bad that's going to be. Computing power is massively increased. We're on the cusp of quantum computers, whereas today's passwords will mean absolutely nothing when we introduce a quantum computer into the frame. And also we've got the Internet of Things. So we've all heard about the Internet of Things, where people have a toaster, for example, that's connected to the internet. That's a potential weakness, and it's the same in the business world, where printers are on the internet or on the network. Mm-hmm. You've got shadow IT, so people using software that's outside the company infrastructure. Again, that's another weakness. So there's a lot to deal with in the future.
Yeah, lots of different risks there to consider, many I'd not heard of either. Well, thanks, Luke, for joining me and sharing your insights with us. You're clearly passionate about keeping our business community safe, so thank you.
Thank you.
Now, that's all we have time for on today's show, but do join me again next time on the Business Programme.